So Herbert not only getting it done through the air, but also with his legs, 65 rushing yards on just 5 carries. We got to hear from him after the game on that rushing production.
I think it's just, seeing those rush lanes and when the pressure comes and understanding that, you have that ability to step out of the pocket and a throwaway is not always the best option. So to be able to continue and extend plays, I have to be better with the ball, more ball security, but, I think it helps our offense.
Do you actually like to run with the football, or is it more a case of, oh, shoot, I better get out of here?
I always enjoy running with football. It's an opportunity to go make a play, and I think it shows the team that I want to do everything to win, and whatever that may be, whether it's running the ball, throwing the ball, whatever we need to do to extend drives, convert on third down, and score points in the red zone.
So it's interesting. Herbert, we talk about the rushing, right? So 65 yards, obviously, that's kind of an eye-popping number, but he's very quietly had 30 or more rushing yards in 3 of the last 4 games. He is over the last month. He's the 6th best quarterback in fantasy football on a points-per-game basis. This is somebody that a lot of people, and I will raise my hand, that sort of left for dead from a fantasy perspective this year, thinking, hey, Harbaugh's going to want to run the ball. They lost Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and, Austin Eckler. They lost all this production, new offense. It's going to be run-heavy. Greg Roman's always been like bottom 5 in passing rate when he's been an offense coordinator. Harbaugh loves to run. I don't see Herbert as anything more as a low-end QB2. And out of the bye, Connor and Jay, he's been nothing short of fantastic. 19 or more fantasy points now in 4 straight.
Yeah, no, he's been awesome. Certainly seems like the plantar fasciitis that plagued him at the start of the year, as well as an assortment of maladies that's gone away. Now, he's been doing it against some easier defenses, but it doesn't matter. And the rest of the way, you play Baltimore's pass defense. Next week, the week after, you get the Falcons pass defense that Bo Nix just eviscerated. And then Bucks are on the schedule too. And then the Chiefs pass defense isn't great. So I think that the combination of him establishing a rapport with these receivers who are better than we thought they were coming into the season, and him just adding that value with his legs, means that I think he's a top 10 quarterback the rest of the way.
Yeah, there's no question about it. We've seen him do this before. This is a guy that's got a top 3 fantasy finish on his resume.
I think it's QB2 in 2020 or whenever he had the 5,000 yards.
Yeah, so it's not like, it's in there. It's not like this is fluky. From a pure skill standpoint, I think that if you took fantasy out of it, if you just said, hey, we're holding an actual NFL draft and we're throwing every quarterback in the NFL back into the draft, Justin Herbert doesn't make it out of the first 10. He's one of the first 10 guys off the board, I would think, if every NFL player were available to be drafted.
We had this combo a couple of weeks ago where we thought he was it me, you and Lawrence, I think? You might have actually, we were debating.
Was this another text chain that I'm not on?
It was actually on the show.
This was another TV show that you weren't on.
We had a really interesting debate that he's a top 7 quarterback, and it's the line when you get to 7 is really interesting.
I was the pro-Herbert guy in that argument.
You?
Yeah, and then Lawrence was against us. Lawrence was saying Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, again, I tell my daughters, when you guys grow up and find somebody to, spend the rest of your life with, find somebody who looks at you the way Lawrence looks at Anthony Richardson.
Indeed. Yeah. It's Lamar, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow. I think those are your top 4.
Jay Daniels.
Maybe Jaden Daniels.
No.
Behind Herbert now in the pecking order.
No. I think it's those 4. I think it's,
And then Justin Herbert has an argument for 5th, I think. Right?
We'd have to really lay this out.
Yeah.
But the point is, he is playing we thought he could.
You can make an argument for Stafford. You make an argument for Jordan Love. Just talking pure quarterback.
Sure.
I'm not talking fantasy-wise. The way Baker Mayfield's playing this year,
Jared Goff's been amazing.
Jared Goff's been amazing this year. Again, are you talking just this year? Are you talking, just the overall? And if you're talking, are you talking just this year? Or are you talking also the future? Because certainly the future is very bright for Jaden Daniels. Brock Purdy's been fantastic. You know what I mean? And so
Purdy's in the top.
Right. And some of it has to do with scheme fit and the weapons around him. And anyway, whatever. Justin Herbert, very good. And if you took a late flyer on him, you have a rock-solid fantasy quarterback. Obviously, I agree with Jay. Top 10 guy the rest of the way. And you mentioned it, the schedule lays out nicely. Ravens, Falcons, at the Chiefs, home to Tampa Bay. Only the Chiefs in the next 4 give you any pause. And I think he's good enough, especially given the legs and the emergence of Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, Will Dissly.
That's
we'll
the
talk
key.
about, right?
It's not just the Herbert outlook. It's now that Will Dissly is making a charge as a startable tight end in fantasy, and McConkey Matthew has been so consistent, especially in PPR formats.
Yeah, 27% target share is not surprising, right? Because he's had at least 20% in every game this year except for 2. McConkey so good. This was supposed to be a tough matchup for him, in terms of how the Bengals defend the slot. They're pretty good against the slot, and yet he still found different ways. And honestly, so you see the 6 for 123 could have been even more. Again, like there was like a 20-yard pass where he's wide open that Herbert just sailed over his head in the fourth quarter. Quentin Johnson has become a nice deep threat, as you see it there. And on Fantasy Football Pregame, we all give sort of our desperation plays, guys that are available in more than 80% of Yahoo leagues. Mine on Sunday, Will Dissly.
Yeah, Loveless candidate, I believe.
Yes, he was as well.
So Will Dissly, and he lived up to that 18 fantasy points. He's tight end 7 going into Monday Night Football. Tight end 11 in points per game over the last 5 weeks. So let's look at the Bengals side of this, because this
quietly.
is.
And by the way, and it's like, I mean, again, like he's getting over the past 5 games, he's got a 23% target share. Like
he's involved.
He's become a part of this offense, and some of that you would think, well, it's because Hayden Hurst is out, but Hayden Hurst has come back, and they're like, well, we don't care.
Right.
I mean, it's
right.
we like Hayden Hurst here, but like from a fantasy perspective, he's just not getting a lot of looks from Justin Herbert.
On the Bengals side of things, Joe Burrow, a great night for him, 28 of 50, over 350 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. He adds in 28 rushing yards, and both T. Higgins and Jamar Chase feasted in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow was like 3 plays away from being 7-4 and the runaway MVP favorite, and instead he's 4-7 and on life support to make the playoffs. But he was magnificent. The word that kept coming up on the broadcast, and it's the new kind of favorite NFL buzzword replacing multiple, is escapability. A lot of escapability from Joe Burrow, his ability to extend plays, to use his legs. I thought he was masterful. He was magnificent. It wasn't Joe Burrow's fault at all that they lost this game. But, I mean, just in terms of just statistical volume, he's been the best quarterback in football. His touchdown to interception ratio is off the charts. And just having T. Higgins back. And again, Matthew, this is another game where T. Higgins was kind of the guy over Jamar Chase in terms of first read targets, in terms of getting the 13 targets, 9 receptions to Chase's 7, and T. Higgins goes 148 yards and a touchdown.
4th straight game with at least 14 fantasy points for T. Higgins over his last 5 games. He's got a 32% target share, to your point about just Burrow looking for Higgins. We don't know if he's going to be a Bengal next year, but certainly in a contract year, he's on the 1-year deal. He is making a name for himself. He's been unbelievable. Him and Jamar Chase have both been terrific. They've really complemented each other. I want to, real quickly, my friend Will Brinson, who does a great job over there at CBS, he tweeted this out. Just to your point about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow in the Bengals' 7 losses this year. 163 for 285. He's completing 67% of his passes. He's got over 2,100 passing yards. 18 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. 18-2 in their 7 losses.
Yeah.
In their 7 losses, and somebody else tweeted this out. Let's see. This is a senior researcher at the NFL and Good Morning Football, Dante Kopolitz Fleming, tweeted this out. Joe Burrow has lost 3 games this season in which he had 3 or more passing touchdowns, 300 or more yards passing, and 0 interceptions. The most such losses in a season in the Super Bowl era.
Yeah.
It feels impossible to do.
I mean, like, it is a little bit like it's the Will Smith meme of, like, in the living room at the end of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like how much can this guy do on his own? And it's weird because, like, Chase and Higgins and Chase Brown and like the offense has been good.
Yeah, the defense is just the debacle, and they've lost these coin flip games. They really should have beaten Baltimore twice. They lost both of those. They probably should have won last night after they came all the way back and McPherson starts missing the kicks. Jamar Chase has the triple crown right now in receiving. He leads the league in receptions, receiving touchdowns, and receiving yards. Ironically, the guy who might screw him out of that is actually Brock Bowers, catching him for receptions. That's the season Brock Bowers is having. But Chase has been awesome. Burrow's been awesome. It's just the defense can't help them out. And
Chase Brown is getting the volume, Matthew. 22 carries for 86 yards. He also had 57 yards on 5 receptions. Stays involved in the pass game. Coming into his year 2 NFL season, everybody's wondering, can he handle the kind of volume that he did his last year at Illinois? The answer is yes.
You want to talk about, Saquon Barkley, he gets a lot of work. Chris McCaffrey, oh man, he touches the ball a ton. Over the last 3 games, Chase Brown has 100% of the Bengals running back touches. Think about that. 100%. He's averaging 27 touches per game. Literally not, Khalil Herbert's not even like, you know what, hey, just go in there and take 1 carry. Take a kneel down, something. Like, it's the end of the hat. Like, 100%. 100% of the Bengals running back touches over the last 3 games have been all Chase Brown. It's unbelievable. They're on a bye next week, and then they're home to Pittsburgh. They're at Dallas, at Tennessee. So the next 4 weeks, from a fantasy perspective, obviously you don't love the bye. You don't love the Steelers game. At Tennessee is going to be tougher than you think. Maybe Dallas's defense. We'll see what they do tonight. But still, just incredible volume and production from a Bengals team that should be better than their record indicates as well. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I feel so bad for Bengals fans. Every time you count on them, they bone you. You get boned by the Bengals.
They really should have been the Chiefs as well in week 2, with that 4th and 16 or whatever that Mahomes. They really could be 8-3.
Honestly, they had a real shot against my Commanders on Monday Night Football in week 3. That's a game they easily could have won as well.
So this is why you can't lose at home to Jacoby Brissett in week 1.
Right.
The Bengals, they do this every year, and they're not going to get away with it.
Still wild. You look at that schedule. It's not out of the realm of possibilities that they win 9 games and sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, they really could win 5 of their last 6.
Plus 500 type
they
of shot.
could,
Yeah.
but
the AFC is tough. But they have that kind of talent. It's just sort of insane. But anyway, I feel bad for the Bengals. Very tough loss. And I'll just tell you one last thing real quickly. When I was sitting there trying to figure out what my best bet was, one of the things, and I'm talking with producer Damien about it, and I said, I kind of think the Bengals are so desperate. The Chargers don't need this game. This is the Bengals season on the line. I sort of feel like the Bengals go in there and win this one. And so maybe I should just take Bengals money line, or even Bengals just plus 1.5 as my best bet. And I'm just talking. I'm like, wait, hold on. What am I thinking? Literally, I'm talking this out loud with Damien, and I'm just like, what am I thinking? Every time you count on the Bengals, they bone you.
Yes.
Well, I have to listen to my own rule. And thank goodness I didn't take that bet.
To be fair, the Chargers do the exact same thing.
yeah, it was that kind of matchup.
Yeah.
Although I do feel like that a lot of that that has been washed away by Harbaugh.
I agree.
Jim
Chargers team.
Jim Harbaugh wins everywhere he goes.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Yeah, this Chargers team has a different identity and a different confidence.
Yeah,
So.
Exactly. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.